Good morning, S3. Today's video, we're just going to quickly look at respiration. So we're going to look at the word equations for aerobic respiration and fermentation, and we're going to look at some of the experiments you can do in this topic. So firstly, we just look a little bit at energy in your cells. So you need energy for a variety of things. You need it for growth, you need it for repair and cell division. So last lesson in the video, we looked at how these three things are linked. So cell division is how we do growth and repair. So digestion and building things in your body, so making and breaking chemicals, you need energy for that. You need it when you move, and you need it to both increase and decrease your body temperature. Remember, you can pause these videos if you need to take notes on anything. This bit is where most of the notes for this topic, for this page, come through. So cells gain chemical energy from food. You remember from your first and second year physics that we've got lots of different types of energy. We've got chemical, we've got potential, we've got kinetic, we've got radioactive, we've got lots of different energies. Your body runs on chemical energy. It's not like a plant that can use light energy and make its own energy. So we can do a really cool experiment where we burn food underneath a known quantity of water, and judge it by how much the temperature changes, it tells us how much energy was in that food. I burned my Christmas tree at the weekend, and I, because I'm very geeky, calculated the amount of energy in the Christmas tree by putting a known volume of water with a thermometer above of the Christmas tree. It's a bit sad, but very interesting scientifically. So you can work out what contains most energy by what gives the highest change in temperature. So we would normally do an experiment where you would look at which type of foods have the most energy. We would burn fats, we'd burn carbohydrates, we'd burn proteins in a spoon under a known volume of water. We obviously can't do that, so we're going to move past it. What you would find, so you don't need to fill in the exact numbers in your table, but you might want to put in the fact that, get there eventually, fats contain the most usually. So the food group that contains the most energy is it's fats. Your body doesn't usually run completely on fats. Parts of your body, so for example, your heart runs quite a lot on fat. Carbohydrates are easier for your body to get and to process. But if you think about it, if you're running a marathon and your heart ran on carbohydrates, as soon as you ran out of sugar, your heart would stop, which would not be very useful. So your heart generally runs on fats. We'll look at the two different types of respiration. So ask you what are the two types of respiration. They are written underneath the question. So they are aerobic and they are fermentation. We'll talk about the differences. Aerobic respiration is usually considered to be better. It's respiration when you have access to oxygen. So when oxygen is available, animal, plant, yeast cells, everybody and their cat is running respiration aerobically using oxygen, glucose. That's wrong, anyway. There should be an oxygen after the word glucose in this word equation, or else it's not aerobic. So this is I'm hoping the person who made this PowerPoint has done it deliberately. Glucose plus oxygen, and then an arrow, carbon dioxide, water, and energy. This is where you get a lot of your metabolic water and where you get lots of your energy. CO2 is a bit acidic. You don't really want that in your cells, so you pass it back into the blood, and then you breathe it out when you breathe. Fermentation is a little bit shonky. It's what evolved first. If you don't have oxygen available to your cells, maybe you're running really, really fast, maybe you're not quite as fit as you thought you were, and your body's run out of oxygen for your cells. In animals, that's us, we develop lactic acid. So if you do higher biology, you'll learn how that happens. It's very interesting. It's just a quick way for your body to get a little bit of extra energy. So again, this word equation would be more useful if it said lactic acid plus energy. And even better if it said lactate plus energy. In plants and yeast, so this is what our brewing industry is run on. If you give plants and yeast a little bit of time to make sugar and then quickly starve them of oxygen, they panic, they make carbon dioxide, which is why beer is bubbly, and they make alcohol, which is why beer is alcoholic. You can then distill off a lot of the water and things and make different spirits. So respiration is enzyme controlled. We, in our body, as I said, you can burn things to find out how much energy they have. You would be in a bit of trouble if you had to burn things in your body to release the energy. So we go through a enzyme controlled process. It's different things that you could investigate. So we've looked at the fact that glucose plus oxygen at an appropriate temperature will give you carbon dioxide, water, and energy. You could say, well, wait a minute, if I add more animals, do I get more respiration? If I increase the temperature or lower the temperature, does respiration happen quicker? If I provide more glucose, if I provide more oxygen, you could do lots of different experiments to find out what affects how quickly or the rate of respiration. Or you can make it more acidic or more alkaline. So again, because we're not in class, you don't need to do this experiment, and there's not really a lot you need to write down for this, and so you can skip this if you want and move on to the next video for the next experiment. If you want, this would be the experiment we would do. We'd get baker's yeast and a beaker of water and glucose solution. We would then see how many bubbles come out of the yeast solution, because remember, carbon dioxide is developed if you do respiration in the presence of oxygen. But because yeast is a fungus, you'll get carbon dioxide either way. And depending on how much gas is produced, that will tell you how much respiration has happened. So the more CO2 produced, the more bubbles you'll get, and the lower this line will go. These are the kinds of things, if we think about what are called dependent and independent variables, you should always try and control everything else in an experiment. So if you're changing the concentration of glucose, you have to keep everything else the same: the temperature, the time, the mass, all these kind of things. And you got to be safe. So if you did this experiment with different temperatures, you would probably find that respiration happens quickest at about body temperature, about 37 degrees. Okay, hopefully that experiment and that explanation were useful, and we'll move on to the next video, which looks at different